G'day all, Warwick Baines, the subject convener again. This is just a short video to step you through a few key things to think about when preparing for your assessment item 3, the case study, which is due on the 7th of May, so not that far away. In contrast to the first assignment, which was only worth 10%, and you should receive that back from your lecturer soon, this assignment is worth 25%. So a poor performance in this assignment could significantly impact on your final grade in this subject. As I said in relation to the first assignment, you need to ensure that you're up to date with your studies as per the study schedule. This assignment covers parts of topics 4, 5, 6 and 7. Topic 7, which is covered in the week beginning the 24th of April, is only relevant for the much smaller question 3. So if you've covered topics 4 to 6, you can certainly attempt most of the assignment, i.e. questions 1 and 2, now. Remember, the marking criteria table has been available to you in the subject outline, as you can see here, since the beginning of session, so you should be familiar with it. If you're not, please go over it now before you have a crack at the questions, particularly reading what's expected in relation to high distinction level for each of the 3 questions. As this is a comprehensive case study, your responses should be presented in a single report with a brief executive summary. Remember, you are the auditor planning the audit, so you should write from that perspective. However, you will also notice that there are 3 distinct questions which you have to answer, and 2 of them contain clear instructions about how to structure your answer, questions 1 and 2. So you must use subheadings to identify your answer to each question within the overall report. You could use subheadings such as ratio analysis, internal control, and computer-assisted audit techniques, respectively, but ultimately it's up to you. Now, before looking at each question individually, I do want to say something briefly about the word limit. You can see at the top of the assignment it says the word limit is 3,000 words. But I think on reflection you can adequately answer this question in 2,000 words. If you choose to use 3,000 words, given what's said in the assignment, that's fine, you won't be penalised. But equally, if you go with 2,000 words as your target, you're not going to be penalised for being under the originally stated amount. So please bear that in mind. Okay, let's look at each question. Question 1, as you can see, is about using analytics as a planning tool that identifies potential issues that could impact on audit risk. This is covered in topic 5 and chapter 5 of the textbook. The first part of this question is asking you to analyse each ratio listed, and you can see them all listed here. It's asking you to look at considering its actual performance in 2015 and 2016 against budget and industry benchmark and other related ratios on the table. And importantly, any other important information in the question, like the information here in business environment. You then have to consider what that analysis means for your audit. If, for example, days in inventory has deteriorated, then the impact on the audit will likely be an increased risk that inventory is overstated or overvalued, but make sure you briefly explain why. And that's in relation to that second column there, audit impact. The final column is all about the steps that could be taken during the audit to reduce audit risk. What audit procedures could you undertake, for example, to gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to ensure that you could determine the true value of inventory? If you don't remember what audit risk is all about, make sure you revise chapter 4, especially pages 162 and 163. Make sure you structure your answer to question 1 as instructed, and that you cover each ratio as listed. Remember, some will likely have a more significant impact on the audit than others, and that will flow through to the audit steps that you undertake. Okay, on to question 2. Now this question is about internal controls and is covered in topic 6, or chapter 7 of your text, but it has a similar pattern, as you can see, to question 1. Now I didn't place a limit on the number of internal control weaknesses that you needed to identify, but I think somewhere between 8 and 10 would probably be appropriate. Similar to question 1, this question then asks you to explain how each identified internal control weakness will impact the audit. For example, if production orders for finished goods are not authorised prior to being sent, then orders could be sent for finished goods that are no longer required, which could have implications on the value of inventory. Just like question 1, the final column asks you to outline the audit procedures you might need to undertake to reduce audit risk from that internal control weakness. Remember your detection risk matrix on page 163? Higher control risk means more audit work to reduce detection risk, and therefore audit risk to low. Okay, on to question 3. As I mentioned before, this is all about CATs or computer-assisted audit techniques and is covered towards the end of Chapter 8 of your text. The key here is identifying CATs that would assist you in undertaking the audit steps you propose to do in questions 1 and 2. So that's not focusing on the client controls, but it's focusing on what CATs would make your audit testing easier. In other words, rather than an auditor manually wading through the data, how could a computer assist in doing that work to identify potential issues? Now, your answers here need to take note of the specific client information, rather than expecting you'll be able to find a key sentence or label in the textbook. So, for example, how could CATs help you in your audit procedures in relation to checking for obsolete inventory? Now, you only need to select 3 CATs, but make sure all of them have a clear link to other work you propose to do and that there's a clear justification provided for each of them. And don't forget the 2% of your overall mark that's riding on professional communication referencing, so please make sure you check the criteria down here for the marks there. Alrighty, I think that's pretty much it for now. The final point I want to remake is in relation to that word count. As I said, the question says the word limit is 3,000 words, but as I said at the start, I think that's probably too much. You should be able to answer all parts of the assignment adequately in 2,000 words. Thanks very much.